All right, so we're going to explore the whole realm of stress today. And I have some colleagues that take the understanding that I work with into very large organizations and help them work through things that they haven't been able to solve because they're caught up and it's a big problem and it's been very challenging. And they wrote a book called Invisible Power. And one of the things I love what they said in the book is so they start the chapter on stress is there's three great myths in life, and two of them have been debunked. So the first one is the earth is flat. So now we know, of course, it's round. When I walked the Camino, I walked to Santiago, but I could have walked a few more dozen or 100 kilometers or something and gone to the end of the earth back then. It's called Finisterre. And so the ancients thought that that was the end of the, the dirt and it wasn't safe to go, very far away from the shoreline. The second one was, of course, the sun rotates around the earth. And so when Galileo or Copernicus, one of those guys, discovered otherwise, he was put in jail. So they weren't happy with his discovery. It seems to be kind of our human nature to dismiss something that's radically new or different way of seeing something. But the third thing they said that the myth that has not been debunked is that stress is caused by circumstances, by events, by other people. And you're probably thinking by now, like, no, 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 no. Like, I've got these things going on in my life. I've got these situations about my work or about my family or about my children or about my business or about my neighbor or about, about everything that's causing me stress. And and that's the irony is it really does look like those things are the cause and the root of our stress. It's just it doesn't really work that way. So one of the aspects of this new understanding, I'll call it our mental engineering, like how the mind really works, because we really didn't understand until a fellow had a big, insightful epiphany just over 50 years ago that we always thought that what we were experiencing was coming to us from the outside world, that our five senses were collecting information and observations and data, and we were responding or reacting to that. So as if the mind were like a camera and like a movie camera, and we're kind of observing what's going on out there. And then whatever we found distressing or annoying, it was because of that thing out there. But what this man realized, his name is Sydney Banks, what he realized, what he saw during his epiphany was that our minds create our experience. So it's like the mind works like a projector. And if you think about an old fashioned projector, there's it gets plugged into the wall. So there's the power, there's electricity. There's the big light bulb and the speakers. And then there's a film strip. And if you think about the film strip being like a flow of thinking, so what we're actually experiencing is thoughts, like moment to moment, whatever thought comes up in our flow of thought or the reel of thought, or whatever you want to call it that. So what he saw was that it's what we what we're able to create through our own internal projector. He called it kind of like a virtual reality. It's so compelling and so real and so believable that it looks like that's the outside world. That the thing that we're experiencing, like that it's happening out there. We don't see that it's a creation of our own mind. So it's an internal generation of the experience. And you think, well, wait a minute. Like I had this situation and it was very stressful and but did you notice that not everybody is stressed about the same thing? If it was true that that thing outside, that circumstance or that event was the cause of our distress or what have you, that wouldn't everybody have the same experience. And I really noticed this over COVID, when we were kind of forced to isolate, stay indoors, not have a lot of contact with other people. Some people were really genuinely frightened, distressed, fearful of harm that could come to themselves or members of their family, their loved ones. Other people were just really enjoying themselves. It's like, yeah, I get to stay home and yeah, have some Zoom meetings, but then I can kind of do my thing. And so I just thought that was a great example of how we were all faced with the same circumstance. I mean, they're, slight variables depending on our own situation. But our response to it, our reaction to it could be so different. So there must be something else at play there that creates the experience of being at peace with something or being very stressed and overwhelmed with something. And so stress is we kind of look at it or see it as something that's just kind of a given. It's something that we experience when we have too much work or we don't have enough work or we have we're at odds with another person and can't seem to get things sorted out, or we're depending on people that aren't cooperating and showing up on time or getting things done on time. So it looks like there's lots of reasons to be stressed, but they're not the source of the stress. I remember something like as simple as being stuck in traffic, and you see some people like they're literally having road rage, like they're just really annoyed and angry and ready to to take the gun out of their glove compartment and shoot somebody's tires. And other people are just sitting back, they got the radio on and not having any adverse experience about the traffic jam. And so you really look at the truth of that and how if you can really see that, it's like, well, something else must be at play. And what I saw, I read a book a number of years ago. It's actually written by a psychologist, but it was called Self-Coaching. And he, after working with clients for many, many years, what he clearly started to see is that there's the fact of the matter, the thing that's actually happening is, it's Friday. But then there was all of he called it the fiction, the meaning, the story, the extrapolation, the everything that we kind of made up about it. And I saw this that we can have a situation, like for example, um, somebody goes for a job interview and isn't offered the position. So the fact is they didn't get the job. But then we have these creative minds and we start thinking about, oh my God, I'll never get a job, or I blew the interview, or I suck, or I don't have the right qualifications. And there's so much competition for this position. So you can see, we can really kind of work ourselves up. We call it like a thought storm, take that situation and then start giving it all kinds of meaning and and kind of what that means, in the future, what that means about us or what that means about what's possible. And it's a little hard to see at first because we're so used to understanding that that thing or that person is the cause of our distress or overwhelm. It's a little tricky to kind of start to be able to step back a little bit and see like, oh, what am I making about this? What is it about this that what is the kind of thinking I'm having about that this is having me feel this distress or overwhelm? And so what we begin to see about stress, it's never useful. It's never helpful. Like people often think that stress is something like, well, that really, then I quit fooling around and really get at it and get the thing done. When the deadline's coming up close, I kind of push myself into a corner and I finally get at it. Or um, some people think that stress is motivating, like you just it kind of wakes you up, or they even have a name for it. It's called eustress or good stress. But that's part of the illusion that stress is useful or helpful. It never is. And and you can never think about something in a stressed state of mind that you can't think about in a calm, clear mind and probably have more insight, more creative solutions, more innovative thinking about it. So when things look challenging or complex or something that you can't sort out, work through, the the temptation is to overthink it or try to rationalize or try to figure it out or try to come up with a solution, which kind of creates I use my little snow globe here. So when the mind settles, we have this clarity and this ability to kind of see other possibilities. But when we're overthinking, we kind of create this we call the thought storm, or this little blizzard in the mind. And it's all that thinking, and that's what's causing the stress. If we have the presence of mind to just kind of let the mind settle and see what comes up for us. I have a colleague who was a paramedic for many, many years, and of course they would come upon many horrific situations, accidents and things like that. And he said that if you didn't have a calm, clear mind, you couldn't deal with the situation in a very intelligent, effective way. Like if you freaked out, like you really just couldn't do your job. So they learned quickly that, feeling stressed or feeling panicky about something was not the place to come from when they're dealing with something that's either challenging or complex or difficult. So I want to pause here for a moment and just check back with you and ask you, like, what are you noticing or what are you seeing in this so far?
I agree with everything you've said. That's so true. And um, unfortunately, where I am right now,
Yeah, I think a lot is has to do with control, isn't it? If you're not able to control a situation, that's what you said. Everybody's affected differently, but some people just need to have the control of the situation. If it slips, they really get all worked up and all stressed.
Mm,
And so I suppose it depends a little bit on how used to are you handling maybe tricky situation or difficult people or
mm,
unexpected events, and can you sort of slide into it, or is it like, oh, I can't deal with that?
right, right, right. If you can really see that your experience doesn't come from the situation, and it takes a while to see this. Like I've been working with this understanding now for almost 7 years. And sometimes I can kind of catch myself, or you're having a lot of thinking about this.
Mm,
Or I notice when I think my opinion is the truth, the real, the what everybody else should see or everybody else should agree to. And as I say that the experience that we create through the power of our own mind and the power of these elements that create that experience is so compelling. It's so real. It's like it's hard to imagine that it's not my reality is not your reality, right? So we
mm,
start to see that, oh, if you and I are having very different experience of the same situation, like what's the element that's giving us this different experience? If you're perfectly calm and can kind of take charge of the situation and get things sorted and settled out. And I'm here like freaking out and panicking and kind of useless. Like what's the difference? Like why are we, either showing up so differently or having a very different take on the experience, definitely different feelings about the experience. Like, so there must be something else that's going on that we're not seeing.
I think
But
that unfortunately things snowball, and you can feel stress or that, and then it just kind of carries over and takes takes on a different um it takes more and more out of you,
Mm,
and keeps rolling
mm,
um until it's feeling overwhelming.
right. Yeah, I see that, Kathy, and so when people fall into those we call them like a habit of thought. Um, then there's the diagnosis. Somebody's diagnosed with depression or something like that, or anxiety. But the tricky part to see here is that we think that our experience is coming from the circumstance, from the um, something that we had anticipated didn't work out the way we wanted or needed it to. And it's really hard to see that the experience is coming from our thinking about it.
Hmm.
And you're thinking, wait a minute, like I've got this difficult situation, and it's like it's kind of scary what's going on right now. But the thing is like if you're caught up in feeling distressed or anxious, it actually diminishes your capacity to creatively solve problems. So what these people did, they go into these very large firms, and some of them are like Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies, like they're huge global companies with $1 million problems, $1 billion problems, and they've had the same problem like for ever. And they just go around and around, and they've got all these super smart people, engineers and physicists and accountants, and they kind of circle the wagons around the problem. Everybody feels the pressure and tension. We've got to get this sorted out. We've got this figured out, but they don't. And so what these consultants come in, and the first thing they do is they set it up so people start to kind of settle. So they just start to relax a little bit. They kind of let their snow globe settle. Let all that over analytical thinking just kind of like um, clear off. So they have fresh perspective. So they have fresh insight. So they have fresh creative solutions to come up, and it works every time. Like they see it's so effective that they'll go into these big organizations, but they spend 4 days with them, and they say, look, at the first couple of days, we're going to kind of do some teaching about this, and kind of really show you how your mind works, how, the engineering behind how your experience is created. And so they kind of play around with that. And then this third and fourth day, they just let them brainstorm, like, come up with the craziest, silliest ideas, and, these ridiculous ideas. And the problem always gets solved. So maybe they've generated multi-million dollars more income, or they've saved multi-million dollars in expenses. And so it's the you can't convince somebody, but you can lead them to that place where, if they recognize, or you recognize, that when your mind settles, when you have that calm present state of mind, you can deal with anything, because the only thing you need to deal with is right in front of you at this very moment, right? With the thing that's happening now. When we get caught up in our stressful thinking, we're usually going off into the future, or we're going to the past. I shouldn't have done that, or that was a bad decision. Like we're kind of all over. But when we're present and here and calm, we can deal with like what's here now. So it just simplifies everything.
Actually, on that, um, I guess in a way, uh, uh, it's making better sense to listen to that today because yesterday was the first day in a long time of actually being able to disconnect and detach. Actually, I was in the Kananaskis all day yesterday, and the rain and the weather that we're getting here in Calgary was actually experienced by me yesterday already. Um, and waking up today has been such a nice change from the ongoing weeks of what has taken place.
Mm,
Arlene really resonates.
mhm. You know that we've always known that a settled mind is very helpful. Well, in fact, it's necessary. And so people have been encouraged to meditate, to go for walks, to journal, to anything that can shift all your thinking about a situation, anything that can just kind of give you a bit of reprieve. And like you said, Renee, like going out, to the mountains, or like we naturally know to do this. Like we naturally know that even if our intellectual mind goes like, no, 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 you got to figure this out, like keep at it, keep working at. But inevitably, when people step away, and some one he was an engineer. He said, "Yeah, when I just get really bogged down in something, I just go out and kind of walk around the campus, right? So we intuitively know when if we can move off, a situation and kind of let we call our intellectual mind settle. We have this deeper, insightful, intuitive mind that now has a chance to present new, fresh options and new, fresh um, solutions for the thing that we think is the problem, right? Yeah. Is there anyone that would like to do a little bit of an exercise with me? Somebody that's got a thing that they think is really stressing them out, and we could have a kind of a bit of a coaching conversation around it and um, see what unfolds.
I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, Kathy. All right. So, just really briefly, what are you up against?
Um, well, as I said, I started a business and that's been exciting and challenging. And then my knees collapsed. And so I'm now having major surgery on June 4th, and it will be a minimum of 8 weeks
Mm-hmm,
recovery afterwards.
mm-hmm,
And I'm um, uh, I'm very anxious, and I'm trying to figure out finances, how I'm going to survive all that.
mm-hmm,
And um, I, I don't know how I can kind of go out and find work when I know that I've got to take a break.
mm-hmm.
And it's just, yeah, it's been feeling overwhelming.
Right,
And
right.
um, I live in constant pain, and um, I'm I'm alone, so that adds to it. And yeah, it's been feeling really overwhelming lately.
Mm-hmm. Can we take one of those?
Huh?
Just take one of those
Okay.
circumstances? Yeah, yeah. So pick one out of those several.
Um, okay, how do I survive financially?
Okay. Mm. So is this something that you're trying to figure out for June, July?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that we know about how this deeper intuitive mind works, the solutions come up in the moment. They don't come up 2 or 3 months ahead of time. And so it's sort of being willing to trust that you'll know what to do when it's time to make that decision. We can't decide something that's going to happen 3 months from now or 2 months from now. It's like the it's not here yet. It's not in front of you yet. Um, and so so you can, I don't know if you can see, but you're kind of using you've got all this thinking about what happens when. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's over there. That's down the road.
Okay.
And to see that you've probably been in challenging situations before, and somehow things work out.
Yeah.
You have no idea how they're going to work out, but sometimes they just do.
Mm-hmm.
Because another thing that happens if we get stressed and worried about things in the future, we're not in our lives now.
Mm-hmm.
We're not living now. We're up in our heads with all of this scenarios about things that could happen, undesirable things that could happen. But the only thing you have to deal with is like right is what's here now.
So you're saying she should do things step by step rather than trying to plan ahead, or?
Yeah, just see what comes up. It's like Renee said, she was in the mountains yesterday and it was all rainy and foggy. Like, and and it's like whatever there is there in the moment, that's what you deal with. It's right here now in the moment.
Mhm.
Yeah, because that's when you have the best. That's the only place you can ever deal with anything is in this moment. You can't deal with the weather that's coming tomorrow. You can't deal with the things that are, potentially going to happen and not going to happen. It's we're using the power of our mind to kind of go there, go off into the future, what have you, or and try to figure it out. Well, it hasn't happened yet.
Mm.
And so if we're able to deal with what's here now in the moment, that's pretty doable.
Well, Marlene,
Yeah.
I'll be in this current moment. What is the best action or thing for her to do in this moment? How does that work?
Just letting her mind settle. Just settle. See, one of the amazing gifts of our mental engineering is that feelings are our friends. The feelings are giving us real-time feedback about as to how we're using the power of our mind. If we're thinking very upsetting, distressful thoughts about things potentially in the future, we're going to feel that. We're going to feel that stress and that overwhelm right now because we're feeling the thinking. So the thoughts are like letting us know when we're innocently, unknowingly using the power of our mind to create this distressing experience for ourselves because we think the experience is coming from the event or the circumstances. We don't see immediately that it's coming from our own worried thinking, our own projecting what ifs, our own ability to create what this gentleman called, our fictional thinking. We're making things up.
Mm. I mean, I don't know you, Kathy, but maybe I would put or start making a list, um, steps sort of that relate to your recovery from health or what you need to line up before you go to your surgery. I don't know if you have pets or something like that. And with the finances, I don't know if you have a business plan that you can stick to, or if you need to go back to a bank and talk to them for a loan for a while.
Mm.
But as Marlene says, maybe deal with what comes up at the moment, and otherwise you have that list. You go, oh yeah, maybe the list helps to calm your mind down, to take what necessary steps week 1, week 2.
Right. So if Kathy was able to kind of just settle into, the current thing that she's facing, it might occur to her to make a list, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's part of our own intelligence that's here to support us, to guide us, to inform us, to inspire us. Like that's part of this deeper knowing, this deeper intelligence that's going to be there for her. So whatever it occurs to her to do, that's the best thing for her.
Mm-hmm.
It's tempting to give people suggestions and how-tos and tips and tricks and techniques, and I lived in that world for many, many years. But the most valuable ideas are going to come from Kathy.
What about people who really can't figure it out because they haven't been in a situation like that before? Don't you think they might help to give them ideas or?
If they ask.
Oh, no,
what I
fair enough. You
what
don't
I
want to
what I used to
impose your
do,
ideas, but
yeah, what I used to do with my clients, I called it priming the pump. Okay, so you want some ideas and suggestions here. So let's take turns. I'll come up with an idea, you come up with an idea. I'll come up with an idea, you come up with an idea. And maybe none of those ideas land or are implemented, but it could be the catalyst where oh, okay, I know what I'm going to do now. So we never don't have that capacity to come up with our own
right.
solutions because it's
Mhm.
built into our psychological system. Like we're built to have this deeper and insightful intelligence. Like it's there all the time, but we
Mhm.
don't notice it if we're up here obsessing and stressing, right? Like that gets squished down and drowned out, but it's always there. It's broadcasting 24/7. It's living us, it's guiding us, it's like it's we've in our society we've become so enamored with our own brain, our own ability to think, to figure things out, to analyze, to compare, to assess. And we've been kind of guided away from this deeper intelligence, which is actually way smarter. I don't know if you realize that, when you've had an aha moment or an insight, or you let something kind of go for a little bit, or you're in the shower or you're whatever, and it's like, oh, that's the way to go. So we have these two aspects of our intelligence, the stuff we accumulate, I call it our personal laptop, all the data in there. but it's also connected to, you think about we're connected to the internet, we're connected to this universal intelligence. And it'll always provide helpful solutions in the moment. So when you see how it works, you might also see that there's no percentage in stressing. That there's no benefit of stress. In fact, the opposite thing is it keeps you from this deeper knowing and this creative problem solving. This ability to handle anything that comes up in life.
So how do you turn that around?
What do you like to do to just relax and kind of settle? And what do you like to do?
Read a book, listen to music.
Okay. You got it.
Spend time with my grandkids.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I used to love to go for a walk, but I can't do that currently.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And with my knee, it's just made my life very small.
For now.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I do read, and I do watch my favorite shows, but I guess it just can be lonely too.
You know the solution to that too.
Reach out more.
I don't know. Sounds good to me. One of the things over COVID, people were supposed to stay home, right? But I figured I could pretty much go to the grocery store every other day. It's like, all I could use a couple of apples, or gee, maybe we should buy some coffee. And because it gave me an opportunity to go out and see human beings, because I also live by myself. But I also came up with I created a new routine. It's like every day I called somebody.
Mm.
Yeah,
And I didn't. I went the other way.
that's okay. Yeah, but it'll just, when you see that there's always a possibility, there's always new options. You'll be open to that.
Right.
It's when we start to feel like there's, like you said, your world's getting smaller, your options are shrinking. It's like they're not really.
Mm-hmm. I've just allowed myself to think that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's almost like your situation with your knee is the evidence that you don't have that, the mobility or whatever, that's the evidence of your world is shrinking, but it's not. You're here today with us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I made a choice.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else about this that's come up for you, or you've noticed, or you've got you're still going around in the situation that you're um, dealing with right now?
Maybe um, just dealing with, I guess, one of the circumstances, which is a family related circumstance.
Uh-huh.
And realizing that things will be falling into place is just uh, coming up with the thoughts, the ideas that will improve today, if that makes sense, for the situation.
One of the things that it looks like a source of stress is that we want things done on our time, right? Like it's like, I got to get this done, or I just can't wait to get this over with, or when this is finally resolved or closed or complete or something, I can finally relax, right? But that's part of the illusion that outside circumstance has any power over you, has any ability to um, create your experience. It's it's kind of the same thing at play. That thing is happening. It's a real thing. There's no denying it. um, but if that thing was neutral, if the XY thing was neutral, it's just what is, it's what's happening, it's blah blah blah. It's our it's our perceptions, it's our thinking, it's our expectations, it's our belief, it's all the thing that's actually give us the experience of the thing. So it's not about making ourselves bad and wrong, because that's the mind works in a way that we've never understood before. Like if you talk to 95% of mental health therapists and counselors and psychologists and psychiatrists, they don't even know this. They're still treating people for all kinds of, depression, anxiety, overwhelm, and giving them pills, right? Like they don't even know that. So it it it's such a paradigm change that our experience is completely generated from inside our own mind, when for centuries we've thought our experience is coming from circumstances out there. It's mind-boggling. It's like, I don't know, Marlene. Like, I got this thing going on in my life right now, and it's really annoying and upsetting, and it's like, yeah, it really does look that way. I can completely see that you would have that experience of that. I'm just finishing up a 6-month course, and the participants in the course have both said essentially the same thing. It's like, oh, I'm seeing that I don't have to be concerned with, I don't have to get involved with, I don't have to, other people's things, and they're in their own separate realities. They're creating their own experience of life. They're getting caught up in their thinking. And they both said exactly the same thing. I can feel my stress level has come way down. Because when we see that the experience is coming from thought in the moment, it's like, oh, it's thought. It's thought, right? And so we start to feel more detached from it. We start to pay less attention to it or give it so much importance, or or so much credibility. It's like you can kind of see. It's like I use the metaphor of thoughts going on a conveyor belt, on like a buffet of thoughts going by on the conveyor belt. And those ones they just don't pick up, you know, as often. You let them go by. You know, your your projector wheel of thinking, sometimes people even replace the whole cam. We put in a different time. They're able to see that their old pattern of thinking is no longer helpful. So one of the things about this understanding I really appreciate is that you'll never figure this out in your head. But I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. This deeper part of you already knows this. And it's like, when you have your own little kind of aha moment, it's like, oh, that's how that works. So I love that's why I'm doing these pop-up webinars, because I love, giving people an opportunity to stay in the conversation and see more and more with every conversation. Just have more realizations and more insight and more, connection, and recognition of where their experience is coming from. We were designed in the most amazing, remarkable way, but we never had got the user's manual. It's like that didn't come, tied on our little toe when we were a baby. Yeah, yeah. And so that's the remarkable gift of this man's insight, is he really saw where our experience comes from. He saw our true nature is this presence, this intelligence. He saw the real role of feelings was to give us feedback as to kind of where our thinking is going. We're kind of gone off onto the rumble strips, um, with unhelpful, discouraging thinking. We saw all of that in a few seconds of an epiphany.
So, do you have any recommendations for how to change your thinking?
Nope, because that's not what we're up to here. Kathy, what it's really all about, what he really saw was that feelings give us the feedback as to which thoughts to pay attention to and which ones to let go. Because we can't, the idea that you can manage or control your thought is completely false. That's a myth. That's not possible. We live in like a field of thought, and thoughts we pay attention to, we're attracted to, we engage in. So when we get the feedback of the feelings, it's like, oh, you're paying attention to unhelpful thinking. That's that's the only thing that you need to see. Just notice that when you start to feel unsettled, that's the only thing that's happening. You can go and just, you know, give your mind a break and go read your book. I went to this event a couple nights ago, and I came away feeling kind of annoyed. It's like, I could feel my mood go down. It's like, I could feel it. Like I was paying attention to, this thinking that this annoying thinking I had about this event. Like, it's nothing to do with the event. It's my thinking about the event, right? And then the next morning I woke up and I still a little bit kind of what call it like in a low mood. And then I had a conversation with a colleague and it just poof, it was gone. It's like we call them like a thought storm. We're in this thought storm and it's causing all this but it just moved off. The cloud went over. Yeah. Because if when we really get that our default state, our natural state is presence, peace of mind, mental health, well-being, creative intelligence, that's who we naturally are. So we don't have to work at it, but it's helpful if we allow it. You look at all these people who were really exceptional people. And they all had some sort of they didn't meditate, but they had some meditative practice, you might call it that. I don't know if this was Einstein's practice, but he played the violin, right? And you can imagine when you're playing the violin, you can only be thinking about playing the violin, right? Or Edison went fishing. He fished with no bait. The point wasn't to catch a fish. The point was to create an environment where his mind could settle. And so we all have our thing. For me, I go for walks. There's some people who knit, do petty point, play with their dog. So we can live more and more in the state of well-being, the state of being able to just kind of deal with whatever comes along in life. So what else are you seeing or noticing?
I'm just noticing that even for today, a little bit more optimism for the rest.
Nice. I like that word optimism. To me, it comes from the capacity to trust. I know things are going to work out, or yeah. Some people call it faith, trust. Yeah. And often better than we anticipated. In ways that we hadn't imagined, that we hadn't figured out ourselves. Just life supports us. Things show up, people show up. Anything else, Kathy?
You've just given me a lot to think of.
Mm. I actually encourage people not to think too much. But yeah, that's helpful for sure. Yeah.
Well, in choosing what you're going to think on and what you're going to let go.
Yeah, and let your feelings be your guide. Right? Let the system work for you. Let it show you when you're starting to worry about what's going to happen in June. Let it show you that that's not the place to be right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Swansha, anything?
No, there were words of wisdom, but definitely, I'm a believer in, I don't know if it's called manifesting or positive thinking, but optimism is definitely, um, yeah, it's interesting. My husband and I balance each other off. I'm definitely the glass is half full. He's the very pessimistic glass is half empty and will get more empty. But yeah,
In spite
so
of the evidence otherwise, right?
exactly.
Like I said to somebody, if you're alive, like things have actually obviously been working out for you.
Right, exactly. Yes. I mean, you can still be hit by a bus when you go to Superstore, but I mean, the chances of that, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and not to sort of get too caught up because I know it's you can get sort of stuck in the spiral of negative thinking, and then you attract even more. I mean, your mind goes bananas, and the what could go wrong and even could go worse. And yeah,
Oh
no, if
yeah.
you can snap out of that, that's a good one. And yeah, I think you have to, I don't know, pamper yourself or find even one afternoon we say, that's it, I've had it with everybody. I'm just going to make myself a tea, read a book, and switch on the light and forget about the outside world. Or, as I say, go for a walk in the mountains. Or,
Yeah.
yeah, or even meet someone for lunch or listen to what they're up to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like part of our psychological design is that even when we get caught up in our thought storms or our blizzards or whatever, however like to refer to that,
Mm.
it's like it will occur to us to do something. You know what?
Hmm.
I should just go for a walk, you know.
Yeah,
I should
exactly.
just drop this for now or just let it
Exactly.
go for now, right? Like that's part of this deeper intuitive intelligence. It's like, hey Marlene, you know, I got to the point I can kind of see the thought storm coming. I know what's going on here. Yeah, yeah. We kind of get onto ourselves. You know, we're what Sydney Banks saw that we are a thinker living in the experience of our thoughts, right? Like we're the thinkers in, you know, in a thought created experience. But you can step back and like let it, you know, let the storm go on and you know,
Let
it's
it
like,
settle, yes.
okay, I said my human is having an experience, you know, it's like
Yes.
because the thing about this understanding, you know, it doesn't say that you're never going to have those experiences because that's part of the human experience. Like it's like we have this capacity for the full spectrum of experience from delight
Mhm.
to despair, right? Like we're designed for that. It's just we don't really like the despair part, you know, pretty much.
No, no.
But it moves off and the delight shows back up. And yeah, so if we can kind of ride life more gently, it's
Yeah.
freeing and more enjoyable. Yeah.
Positive thinking.
Well, if you like, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I mean, we can intentionally. I mean, we have tens of thousands of thoughts every day. It's pretty hard to manage them, but if you catch yourself, it's like, oh, wait a minute, things work out, right? You know, we can catch ourselves in the
Yeah.
act.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't go down that route. It's,
right. Yeah, we're go down our own rabbit hole. You know, yeah.
mm.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate you coming and participating in the conversation. And yeah, if you have any follow-up questions, just let me know.
Thanks, Marlene. Yeah, it was great.
Thank you.
Hey,
Yeah,
Marlene.
yeah, you're
Nice
very
to meet
welcome.
you all.
Yeah.
Yes,
Have a good weekend.
you
Yes.
too.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.